This just in. Breaking news, our top story tonight. Forbes releases its list of the richest men in cryptocurrency. Notably absent from the list, Tom Randolph from Twitter. Next up, CoinDesk releases their 2018 State of the Blockchain, an industry report on cryptocurrency. What currently is the state of the blockchain, you ask? I'll tell you, it looks like it's about 8250. Cryptocurrency YouTuber devastated from home renovations, forcing him to sleep in a guest bedroom and not access his bathroom. How long can one man last? Sadly, someone is going to find out. Also tonight, the European Central Bank has announced that cryptocurrency regulation isn't high on its to-do list. Inside sources have said that the European Central Bank feels it's far more important to be drinking beer and watching soccer. And finally tonight, Bitcoin bull Mike Novogratz raises $250 million to launch his cryptocurrency merchant bank. Finally, digital assets going to something that we can believe in, large banks. All of this and more tonight on Crypto News. I'd like to welcome everyone to the channel today. I've got some great stories coming up for you. And as always, remember to hit that subscribe button and join the team. I don't like to focus too much on price in general, but given all of the turmoil that's happened lately, let's take a quick look and jump into the markets. As you can see, we've got gains across the board, pretty much everything in the green, at least for now. And late last night, early this morning, we saw some serious 24-hour gains with many different currencies between 10, 15, and even 40% up over the course of the last 24. What I did find kind of funny about this whole thing is that the alt market has continued its strong correlation with the price of Bitcoin. When Bitcoin drops, alts get hit heavy. When Bitcoin goes up, the alts rise massively. This prompted my tweet yesterday that it doesn't matter how big a downturn is, all it takes is a 20% increase in the price of Bitcoin for people to hop back into some cheap hot alts. It appears, at least for now, that Bitcoin is slightly over 8,000, Ethereum getting a little traction going up to over 800, and all of the other currencies are rallying as well. Most of the big gainers are the smaller market cap coins, but everything in the top 100 has posted a win over the last day or so. I want everyone to remember moments like this, that after the storm goes through, when a serious correction or crash or dip or whatever you want to call it happens, that there is always light at the end of the tunnel. And even though we're nowhere near back to where we were before the whole thing started to kind of come down over the last month or so, we're still on that road back to where we were before. And in the end, it's all about long-term prosperity, and don't sweat the day-to-day swings. I believe in the tech. I believe in the tech. Our next story tonight is that CoinDesk has released their State of the Blockchain, basically an industry report of Bitcoin and blockchain for the year 2018. The article makes a few good points, including that if Bitcoin is a bubble, is one of the few in the history of finance, if not the first, that expanded with negligible use of credit. This is sort of a unique point. If we think about the housing crash from 10 years ago, a lot of that crash was caused by people having to put down very little money to be able to get into their homes. And thus, if the value of the home decreased, they'd end up upside down, or they'd owe more money than what the equity they had in the home was worth. So essentially, you could buy a home, put very little down, market crashes, and now if you're unable to pay your mortgage payment because of an adjustable rate mortgage or just your own misfortune, then guess what? You can't even sell your home, because if you sell it, you'd sell it at a loss. There are a lot of cool points from that article. I'd recommend checking it out. I'll put the link up for you guys in the description below. Next up, according to an article from Cointelegraph, cryptocurrency regulation is not high on to-do list, says European Central Bank. The European Central Bank has moderated stance on cryptocurrency regulation, describing it as not exactly very high on its to-do list in a brief interview with CNBC. The ECB's chair of the supervisory board, Daniel Noy, added that although she had no clue whether new regulatory moves on crypto would come from Europe in the future, involvement of ECB-regulated banks in the sphere was, quote, very, very low. We scrutinize the issue in a regulatory perspective. We are ready to do something if it was needed, but so far it's not exactly high on our to-do list. She also went on to say that actually credit institutions are showing limited appetite for digital currencies like Bitcoin. We continue to see an increasing amount of countries and banks make decisions when it comes to Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. And although some end up being negative, like some of the stances we've seen from China, some have been positive, like America's recent Senate hearing, or overall the legislation that we've seen in South Korea. Now, sure, they did ban anonymous bank accounts that made it easier for people to deposit onto a lot of the exchanges, but at the same time, a lot of countries are embracing the technology. Countries like Japan, countries like Australia. And so it's interesting to see what the stances of these different bodies will be as we move forward. It does seem surprising to me that the European Central Bank doesn't really care that much about cryptocurrency at this point. And maybe that's simply because it's too small. You know, I know we look at billions of dollars and think, wow, that's a ton of money. But in reality, it's not a lot of money compared to a lot of the other industries that we see around the world. There are individual companies bigger than cryptocurrency in its entirety. And so maybe it's just not that important yet. However, I could see that day coming in the not so distant future. So I think it's actually smart for these governments and banks to get out ahead of it and start to implement effective regulation at this point rather than kicking the can down the road. Also tonight, I want to make a brief statement. Yesterday, I made claims about this guy in the background during the Senate hearing.
A letter to Secretary Mnuchin on this subject.
Look at this. Look at this guy. Is this guy just trolling? Is this guy just straight trolling? Can you guys see this? This guy's got some Tron, I'm telling you. This bro is on the Tron train. And it came to my attention that he was actually mimicking Satoshi Light's avatar, otherwise known as Charlie Lee's Twitter avatar. As you can tell, these two look a lot alike. I'm not sure exactly how this guy managed to get there, but props. Moving on to our next topic tonight, according to this article from CCN, billionaire trader and former hedge fund manager Mike Novogratz has successfully raised $250 million to finance the launch of Galaxy Digital, a cryptocurrency merchant bank that will be publicly listed in Canada. If you're not familiar with who Mike Novogratz is, he's an ex-hedge fund manager that has moved over into primarily being in the world of cryptocurrency, and he revealed last year that he had just about 20% of his fortune in these digital assets. Bloomberg reports that Novogratz and Galaxy Digital raised the sum in the midst of one of the most severe market downturns in cryptocurrency history, when the Bitcoin price crashed from a peak of almost 20,000 to below 6,000. This information is also significant because it can be a lot harder to raise money during a large downturn or maybe even a crash in the market like we saw over the last few weeks. And so this amount of capital is a little more significant because there are some serious players getting behind it. According to this article, they were originally trying to raise $200 million and ended up raising $250 million. So they've got a lot of funds to try to make this operation successful. Galaxy Digital's cryptocurrency merchant bank, which Novogratz reportedly hopes to make the, quote, Goldman Sachs of crypto, will have a fourfold business model according to public statements made by the firm. The bank will open a cryptocurrency trading desk and initially seek to capitalize on opportunities for cross-exchange arbitrage. It will also invest in blockchain startups and initial coin offerings, much as Novogratz intended to do through his now shelved cryptocurrency hedge fund. Finally, it will provide advisory and asset management services to wealthy clients. It appears this is one of those all-in-one kind of things.
They're trying to be an all-in-one
they're trying to do it all
for everything.
Which is why they have one of the biggest potentials out of these for them. If they catch on, it's game over.
Will this end up being successful? It's hard to say, but anytime you give a successful businessman $250 million, expect some moves to be made, and I wouldn't be surprised if they become a large player in the future. Finally tonight, and probably the topic you guys have been waiting for, Forbes has released a list of the richest men in cryptocurrency. It's important to note that this list is clearly going to have errors because there are many people that want to stay anonymous, and also some of these accounts you really don't know who owns them, and frankly some currencies like Monero you can't even see who's made the transfers. So realistically this list is comprised more of accounts that can be linked to people or businesses that can be linked to people, as well as some players that have come forward to declare what their assets are. According to this article, Chris Larson from Ripple Labs leads the way with an estimated net worth of $7.5 to $8 billion. Who would have thought that the most centralized currency that can't be mined, that the founders have over 60% of, would end up creating the richest man? It's hard to imagine. Next up on our list, we see Joseph Lubin with an estimated net worth of $1 to $5 billion. That's quite the range you've got there. That's the tough thing with trying to guess what someone's net worth is. You really just can't know, especially with cryptocurrency where you don't know which accounts are theirs. There's no way for anyone to know for sure, and in general, they might be way over or way under the amount listed. Wait, am I on the internet? Doug Polk net worth. There we go, there we go, there we go. So what is Doug Polk actually worth? Well, this number is rapidly growing. It is estimated Doug Polk's net worth is $9 million. Nice. It is safe to say, though, that being the co-founder of Ethereum as well as the founder of Consensus is probably going to end up putting a little bit of money in your pocket. Also in the top 5 of our list, we've got Changpeng Zhao, and I already apologize for my pronunciation of that, who is the CEO of Binance, Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss, who are the famous twins that invested in Bitcoin early, as well as founding the site Gemini, and Matthew Mellon, who is an individual investor in cryptocurrency. Just going through the names of the rest of our list here, we see Brian Armstrong, Matthew Rozic, Anthony Dio Iorio, Brock Pierce, and Michael Novogratz, rounding out the top 10. Also notable on this list, we see Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple, with an estimated 400 to 500 million. Vitalik Buterin, the founder of Ethereum, or rather the creator of Ethereum, worth 400 to 5 million as well. And Tim Draper, the founder of Draper Associates and a famous investor in the space, worth between 350 and 500 million in cryptocurrency assets. This list might be fun, but there's all kinds of reasons it's probably not too accurate. It is safe to say, though, that Chris Larson's sitting pretty and is very likely to be the richest man in cryptocurrency. That's going to do it for me. Thanks for joining. As always, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you again soon.